Hi, I'm Brian E. Denton, author of the book A Year of War and Peace and the poetry collection Inspiration. Welcome to my channel. This video is part of a series I'm doing on Dante's Divine Comedy, wherein I am reading through the entire Divine Comedy, all three books, Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso, at a rate of 3 cantos or chapters per week. This is my independent contribution to Baylor University's 100 Days of Dante Project. If you haven't heard of the 100 Days of Dante Project, please do click through on the link I provide down in the show notes. High quality stuff, guarantee you'll like it. New viewers, first of all, welcome, and I would ask you to please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. I've set the goal of getting to 250 subscriptions by the end of November. We're at 213 at the time of this recording, so I think we can totally get there, especially with your help. So thanks a lot for that in advance. Also to new viewers, you'll know that there's a certain organization to these videos. You're going to find this introduction, followed by a synopsis, then there'll be a characters and themes section, and then a takeaway section where I offer my own thoughts on the canto and how we can use the canto to live better lives ourselves. And then finally, I'll wrap things up with an outro, and then you can go wherever the YouTube algorithm takes you. All right, let's get right into it then. Today's canto is Canto 27. The riven flame containing Diomedes and Ulysses walks away, and a new flame approaches, this one speaking Italian and wanting to know news of its native land. Virgil tells Dante that this flame is all his. He's speaking Italian after all. This new sinner is another sinner of evil counsel, and he's finding it very difficult to talk. He's all choked up. He's got a lot of grief and regret and sadness, which I guess, burning in hell for all eternity can do that to you. Anyway, once we're able to understand what this sinner is saying, it's clear that he wants to know news from his native land of Romagna. Dante is hesitant to add to this man's grief and sadness because Romagna, it turns out, is just as bad as it's always been. It's warfare and bad times all the way down. Dante the Pilgrim wants to know this sinner's name. The sinner obviously doesn't want to give the name up because he doesn't want his name to suffer any ill repute. So Dante employs the old Young Guns 2 Billy the Kid, "You who I'll make you famous" trick, and it works. We learn that this guy's name is Guido da Montefeltro. Guido's response, as I'm sure you all noted, is the famous epigraph that T.S. Eliot uses for the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. So it should come as no surprise later in the canto when we see that Guido just lays out Boniface like a patient etherized upon a table. And that's what we get for the remainder of the canto. We get Guido's story. And what he has done is that he has offered evil counsel to Pope Boniface to help Pope Boniface destroy a rival city. And Pope Boniface said he can do this and have no worries about it because he, Pope Boniface, as Pope, has the keys to unlock or lock the gates of heaven. Apparently this isn't the case because what happens after Guido dies is that he's being led by St. Francis up to the pearly gates. But nope. A demon swoops him up, brings him to Minos, who then deposits him in hell, where we meet him today. Before we get into the characters and theme section proper today, I just want to draw everyone's attention once again to how self-assured Dante the poet is. I really love how he promises Guido fame here. That's big poet energy. Remember, Dante hasn't published the Divine Comedy at this point. He's writing it. And in fact, the only stuff that he has published up to this point is what we would now consider to be his lesser work. It's certainly not the work of the Divine Comedy, which will resound throughout the ages with its fame and bring fame to the fictional characters that he places in them, or in this case, actually a real historical character, Guido. And I just love it. I think it's hilarious every time I read it. And he's a baller. What can I say? So with that out of the way, let's jump right into talking about this guy, Guido. The first thing to think about here is how Dante the poet is continuing his development of the contrapasso for the punishment of the sin of evil counsel, which is what Guido is being punished for. We learned in the previous video for Canto 26 that the flames are meant to represent the sinful nature of the tongue, of speech. Remember from your reading of the last canto that this tongue of fire that's enveloping Ulysses, it shifts about like a flame struggling with the wind, and it obscures Ulysses' speech initially. And something similar is happening here today in this canto. Guido has great difficulty speaking through the flames. His words are initially translated into what appear to be the flame's own language, indecipherable to anyone else. So it's as if while in life these sinners abused speech to achieve sinful aims, now in the afterlife the flames of punishment abuse their own speech. And there's an additional element to the punishment in this canto. Guido's sin, remember, is more in his mind than in his outward speech, though speech certainly played its part. What Guido does is commit a sin while offering evil counsel to Pope Boniface, while simultaneously claiming that he repents of this sin. But you can't be absolved of a sin while claiming to repent of it at the same time. It's just not logical, which is what the demon actually reminds Guido as he's bringing him down into hell. So that's why down here in the 8th ditch of Malbolge, these great tongues of flame obscure the speech and keep the sinners from expressing their true thoughts. You know, while reading the canto this time, I was struck by just how guilt-ridden Guido is in this canto. He's awfully regretful. It's really sad to read about. And this is an additional form of suffering for this poor guy, aside from just burning eternally in these tongues of flame. He compares himself to animals, specifically to a fox with all its trickery and cunning. And in some ways, I suppose that this understanding of his, that his own intellect is what brought him to this awful state, must on some level be worse than the actual burning of the flame. It makes for a rather depressing read, if you ask me. You can't help but, like Dante the Pilgrim, feel a bit of pity for this man. Although, as I'm sure you're noticing, it's actually the case that Dante the Pilgrim is showing less and less of his pity for these characters. He's not really overcome by this pity so much anymore, or the sadness that he feels that accompanies that pity. So what do you think that means? Do you think he's developing as a character? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Finally, I'd like to urge all those readers who want to go all the way to paradise with me to bookmark Cantos 26 and 27 of the Inferno. And the reason we're going to do this is because it will be profitable to compare the sinners in Cantos 26 and 27 of the Inferno with the spirits of paradise who are rewarded for using their God-given intellects for good, God-driven purposes. It's very interesting to see how Dante presents the sins on the one hand and the virtues on the other. You won't expect it. Cliffhanger. I'm sure you've noticed by now how Dante the poet likes to populate hell with all manner of social and political elites. In today's canto, for instance, we're told that Pope Boniface is also in hell, and it doesn't get any more elite than the Pope, especially in medieval European society. Further, Guido himself had a position of power in the social hierarchy during his misspent time on Earth. We've also seen lots of rich and influential people throughout hell. We have the financial and economic elite and the usurers that we met in a previous canto. We've also seen the political elites dating, way back towards the beginning of the poem with the white and black Guelphs and the Ghibellines. Elites, they're everywhere in hell. This is why, while reading the poem with you all this year, I've started to think a lot about the importance of elite institutional integrity. I'm reflecting while reading the Inferno in the newspapers how vitally important it is for a thriving and flourishing society to have trustworthy and virtuous elites. Our democratic age likes to emphasize the power of the people, and I guess in some respects that's right to do. But I can't help but think that even in this democratic age, that the behaviors and the virtues of the elites are very important. It's as if they set the standard for proper behavior. And when they misbehave, it's like this trickle-down impropriety that plagues the whole of society. I know these days it's not popular to sing the praises of elites, but I really do think that it's important for elites to model virtue and to guide the institutions they're charged with shepherding towards positive, socially beneficial outcomes. I really do feel that when elites misbehave and are corrupt, like Pope Boniface and Guido today, that this has system-wide ill effects. So with this in mind, I'd like to leave you with a passage from one of my favorite pieces of wisdom literature, and I'd like for you to reflect upon it. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Alright, that concludes my video for Canto 27 of Dante's Inferno. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. We've set the goal of getting up to 250 subscribers by the end of November. At the time of recording, we're at 213, I believe, so it's totally possible for us to get there by month's end, especially with your help. So thanks in advance for that. But more importantly than getting likes or subscriptions is getting a conversation going down in the comments below. I don't have any specific questions for you today, so just go ahead and comment below on what you think of this canto or the poem in general, or my opinion on the poem or the canto. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. Other than that, know that we're going to be publishing these videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Today's Wednesday, so the next video will be coming out on Friday. Until then, take care of yourselves and others.